Tyrone Power and Orson Welles star in this Sunday's family classic, The Black Rose, beginning at 3 o'clock.
A secret no longer. Made public by the White House today, the president's secret order to send arms to Iran. On Health Beat tonight, the battle against AIDS, a new drug and new controversy.
I can't guarantee that the effects seen would be seen in 2 years, in 5 years, in 10 years, or however long.
Also, Japan's in the groove, while the U.S. recording industry gives off a lot of static.
No comment.
And assassinations. The movie, not the review. Jeffrey Lyons reviews the new Charles Bronson movie.
This is INN, the Independent News with Morton D.
Good evening. The trail to the truth in the Iran-Contra scandal is being paved with paper, a paper trail of memos, leaked reports, and today the White House released some key documents. The documents clearly establish the president okayed a deal, arms to Iran, in return for U.S. hostages. John Aubuchon has more.
American tow anti-tank missiles for Iran and the U.S. hostages in Lebanon. They were directly linked in a top-secret memorandum for the president when he approved the Iran operation a year ago. This approach through the government of Iran may well be our only way to achieve the release of the Americans held in Beirut, the memo said. It was written by then National Security Council staffer Oliver North and signed by then NSC Director John Poindexter. The memo and the formal intelligence finding, the Reagan decision paper, were passed out to reporters this morning in an unprecedented White House attempt to prove that the president did not lie to the American people.
We did not, repeat, did not trade weapons or anything else for hostages.
But the North Poindexter memo expressly states if all of the hostages are not released after the first shipment of 1,000 weapons, further transfers would cease. Of course, all of the hostages were not freed, but the president let the shipments continue for most of a year. We're told that President Reagan did not necessarily read the memo, but was briefed on it. The memo says the whole thing was thought up and planned by the Israelis under then Prime Minister Shimon Peres. The Israelis have denied that. Peres, according to the memo, worried that Iraq might win its war against Iran and thought that helping moderates in the Khomeini regime would prevent that, would keep the Soviets out, and would give Israel and the U.S. some leverage in Iran. Those are the same arguments President Reagan made last fall in defending the arms sales. The memo and intelligence finding are part of a report leaked to NBC on Capitol Hill yesterday, a Senate Intelligence Committee draft. The White House desperately wants that panel's report released because it suggests that Mr. Reagan had no knowledge of the diversion of weapons sales money to the Nicaraguan rebels. But the committee leadership today condemned the leak and insisted that the report's not finished, not ready for release.
We do not think that the staff document that has been released is an accurate reflection of all of the evidence and testimony in the custody of the committee.
What I do not favor doing at this point in time is having a complete disclosure of the documents in our possession, because in my judgment, my experience as both a prosecutor and a defense counsel, that would be practically a fire sale invitation to future witnesses to tailor their testimony to conform or to contradict the evidence before the committee.
But the Republican who headed the committee during its investigation, Senator David Durenberger, argued that the draft report should come out, and right away.
This is the only fair way to make sure that the facts come out correctly, that people have the opportunity to draw good conclusions, not inaccurate, incomplete conclusions, such as are already being drawn from what is an incomplete version of that report.
The White House brought out a fairly high-level official to talk about the North Poindexter memo. Under the ground rules, we're not able to name him, but the official, on his own, without prompting, raised the idea that the opening to Iranian moderates was just a cover for trading weapons for hostages. That kind of plan was outlined in a reported memo last year by CIA Director William Casey. The official suggested today, even in light of the day's revelations, that that kind of thing just doesn't happen, that it defies the imagination. This is John Aubuchon at the White House.
In an angry announcement today, the CIA tried to clear up its role in the Iran scandal, saying it wanted to set the record straight. The agency acknowledged that its director, William Casey, learned of a possible Contra connection on a tip last October, 1 month before the scandal became public. But the CIA says Casey reported his suspicions to the President's National Security Council. The CIA said Casey never received any concrete evidence of wrongdoing, and the agency itself was never involved in the misuse or diversion of funds. NASA said today it has turned the corner in its recovery from the Challenger disaster and is ready to head into the future. NASA Administrator James Fletcher announced the crew lineup for the next shuttle mission. Discovery is slated to lift off February 18, 1988, and the team is already in training. It includes Commander Frederick Houck, a veteran of 2 shuttle flights. His crew will consist of pilot Richard Covey and mission specialist George Nelson and John Lounge. Astronaut David Hilmers may be added to the crew later on. All the crew members have flown shuttle missions before. Discovery's 1988 flight is designed to test rocket boosters, which were redesigned after the Challenger explosion. The flight will also include the launching of a satellite. At $24 million, the Super Stallion helicopter is the most expensive chopper in the Navy and Marine arsenal. It's also the most deadly. Last night, 5 Marines were killed in the California desert when their Super Stallion crashed and burst into flames during military maneuvers. Investigators are trying to find the cause. Since 1981, 20 people have died in 6 major accidents involving the Super Stallion, but a congressman studying the accident-prone chopper says the latest crash appears to have been caused by pilot error. Coming up, it's not music to the recording industry's ears. In focus tonight, it's from Japan, and it sounds like trouble to American record companies.
The Independent News, brought to you by the General Foods Corporation and by Whirlpool.
The golfer and the homemaker have something in common. We call it athlete's back. That sudden minor back pain that comes from overused muscles. New Doan's ibuprofen backache pills contain the most modern pain relief medicine you can buy without prescription.
Relieving back pain doesn't have to be hit or miss.
Ibuprofen has worked for millions.
New Doan's works directly on minor back pain to relieve it in the early stages.
New Doan's helps put your athlete's back in action fast.
Nice night. In recent clinical studies, one group used scope and another group used Lavoris. The results? Even after 3 hours, Lavoris was more effective than scope at reducing bad breath. We always knew Lavoris with zinc chloride was more effective than scope. To appreciate how much more effective Lavoris is, we suggest you do your own field research.
High furniture prices leave you cold? Shop Gaines Furniture Outlet for super hot prices on quality furniture. Choose from hundreds of living room groups starting at only $149. Solid wood bunk beds as low as $39. Classy oak and brass dinettes only $149. And 6-piece pine groups only $199. Plus hundreds of other specials at 70% savings. And you still get a free TV with your special purchase at Gaines Furniture Outlet, 7414 South Cicero, Ford City West, behind Aldi's. Come and get it while it's hot.
The U.S. job scene ended 1986 on the upside. Almost 2.5 million new jobs were created and unemployment averaged 7%, the lowest annual average since 1979. Government figures also show 200,000 more people getting paychecks in December than in the previous month. While jobs were up in 86, wholesale prices came down an average of 2.5%. Much of that dip is attributed to a steep drop in oil prices last winter. The latest figures on both wholesale prices and jobs have prompted optimism by the administration that better things can be expected in the economy this year. Las Vegas is the host this week for an Electronics Fantasyland, an annual electronics convention. It's where the electronics industry showcases the newest and the highest of the high-tech gear. Among the laser beams and microchips is DAT, the digital audio tape. Andrea Kaiser reports it's a tiny tape causing a big problem.
Of the 50,000 gadgets on display here, the one everyone's making the most noise over is smaller than a credit card. Digital audio tape, or DAT as it's known in the industry, is the latest product in the digital sound revolution, which began 3 years ago with the introduction of the compact disc. DAT is to audio cassettes what CDs were to the vinyl album. The digital recording doesn't add noise, hiss, and nearly perfectly duplicates the sound of a recording studio. The manufacturers are even more excited about these new tapes than the compact disc because it not only reproduces near-perfect sound, it can record it. In previous years, what's been shown at this convention is usually available to the consumer shortly after these doors close. But this year it's different. Even though nearly all of the big names in electronics were showing prototypes of the digital audio hardware, none of these machines will be for sale anytime soon.
We're showing it here just to show Samuel's capability, and the technology is ready when when the market's ready.
We're not ready right now, no.
You have a target date?
No, we don't.
End of 1987?
No comment.
Industry experts say the manufacturers want to release these new tapes later this year, but pressure from retailers and the music industry is holding things up. Stores are afraid these high-tech tapes will ruin the sales of CDs, which have just begun to catch on. The record industry is fighting the manufacturers over the issue of copyright. They want Congress to require anti-copying devices to prevent audio piracy.
Theoretically, you can buy two DAT machines, or you and your neighbor, and you suddenly have a library of tapes, both of you. The trouble is that it's very hard to stand in the way of technology. Over the years, it's been possible to delay it, and DAT has already been delayed almost 2 years.
Unless and until these issues are resolved, the DAT will be something to be seen at conventions like this, but not heard by the general public. This is Andrea Kaiser reporting in Las Vegas, Nevada.
An unusual hard sell by a television evangelist probably won't happen again. The pitch came during last Sunday's Oral Roberts show. Roberts warned that if his ministry did not collect $4.5 million by the end of March, God might call him to heaven. Roberts asked his audience to help extend his life by sending donations. Viewers in Dallas called station WFAA to complain about the death-related appeal. The station's general manager also complained about the appeal. Now the public relations firm for Roberts' program has reportedly promised the unusual pitch will not appear on any further shows. Coming up, Bronson is back, and critic Jeffrey Lyons is on his trail in tonight's Friday Night Movie Review.
For tough household odors, I challenge anybody to find a better spray than Arm & Hammer deodorizer spray.
It's the only spray with the power of baking soda.
I use this in my refrigerator and in my freezer, and I can use the spray in the bathroom and in the kitchen because it can be used around food, in the baby's room. It smells clean. It takes away the odors. It doesn't just cover them up.
Arm & Hammer deodorizer spray with baking soda.
I love the fact that it's in a spray.
Mention decaffeinated coffee to a lot of coffee drinkers, and this can happen. To them, decaffeinated just doesn't have enough flavor, enough aroma. But now there's new Brim. It's aroma blended to give you a rich aroma, a full-body flavor. So for some people, it's new Brim or nothing. Brim?
Brim?
Uh-huh. Brim?
What do you think?
Fill it to the rim with new Brim.
3 3.9% is here. 3.9% financing on every new Ford car and truck only at Burt Wyman Ford. Car quality, your choice, all with air. $29.88. A 1981 Chevy Caprice. This 1980 Ford Crown Victoria, just $29.88. Only $29.88 buys this 1977 Cadillac Coupe de Ville. All cars 100% winterized, no extra cost at Chicago's #1 Ford dealer, Burt Wyman Ford, 3535 North Ashland.
You're a darling, you're an angel, and I love ya. But you always get me steamed somehow. You just gotta stop before I blow my top. One of these days, pow! When my shirts need a button, where are you? When my socks get holy, what do you do? When I come home hungry and upset, a cold dinner and an argument is all I ever get. Though you tell me that you positively love me, maybe I don't understand somehow.
Fall in love with the Honeymooners. The new Honeymooners, weeknights at 10 on Channel 9.
One of these days, ah!
INN's Health Beat is brought to you by Advil.
A California drug company has announced what it's calling a major breakthrough toward the understanding of AIDS. It's not a cure, but a drug that may prevent the deadly disease in people infected with the AIDS virus. The drug is called ribavirin, but as Barry Cunningham reports, many prominent AIDS researchers are skeptical about the drug's early test results.
The ICN Pharmaceutical Company of California released preliminary results of clinical tests suggesting that the drug ribavirin is effective in helping patients with AIDS symptoms avoid developing the deadly disease.
We would characterize it as a major step forward in understanding of this disease.
Last year, the company received government approval for the 24-week test involving 163 volunteer patients at 4 major medical centers. The company said the test involved an AIDS-related condition in which patients like this man have enlarged lymph nodes and often develop AIDS itself. The volunteers did not know whether they were receiving the antiviral drug or a placebo. 10 out of 56 patients receiving the placebo progressed into AIDS. 6 of the 55 patients given 600 milligrams of ribavirin developed AIDS. Of the 52 patients who received a stronger daily dosage, 800 milligrams, none developed AIDS. A New York gay group questioned why the company announced its findings at a news conference rather than in a medical journal. If the purpose was to bolster the company's stock, the ICN price actually fell $1.50 a share after the news conference. And the private researchers conceded that 24 weeks might not be long enough to test a disease that can incubate up to 10 years.
It's not a cure. It is not a panacea. I can't guarantee that the effect seen would be seen in 2 years, in 5 years, in 10 years, or however long it takes. So the answer is yes, it is an advance. No, it's not a cure.
Patient volunteers in the test say they hope the government will act quickly to approve the drug for sale under its trade name, Virazol.
And I hope the analysis of data doesn't take 6 months, because I don't know if I have 6 months.
The government will now review the manufacturer's test results to see if ribavirin is proven safe and effective. If no dangerous side effects are found, the Food and Drug Administration says it will try to move quickly to approve the new drug under an accelerated program to combat the AIDS epidemic. In Washington, Barry Cunningham reporting.
INN's Health Beat was brought to you by Advil.
I'm pleased to report that NASA is stronger now than it was a year ago and is growing stronger every day. We're getting our house in order. We're getting our act together. We have turned the corner in our recovery efforts. Step by step, in a systematic and orderly way, we are reshaping and rebuilding the agency to prepare the nation for a new era of space flight.
You know, as much as I love my job, sometimes it gives me a headache. But I never go home with one. I used to take aspirin or Tylenol. Well, now I take Advil. You see, Advil has a non-prescription strength of the medicine in the prescription brand Motrin. Just one Advil is as effective as 2 regular strength Tylenol. Look, I don't want to go home with a headache. Advil sure works for me.
Advil, advanced medicine for pain.
Mom, listen. Well, of course you hardly hear anything. It's my new Whirlpool dishwasher. Cleans great and it's so quiet. Mom, what's all that noise? Oh, it's your dishwasher.
Whirlpool. In recent clinical studies, one group used Scope, another Levoris. The results, Levoris was more effective at reducing bad breath. To appreciate how much more effective, we suggest you do your own field research.
Hey, it's my movie, Back to School, now on video. I think I'll see it again. That's what I call marine biology.
Rodney, take out the garbage.
I already took out the garbage.
Then go out and keep an eye on it.
Oh, enough of this. I'm going back to school. Shake it up, baby!
Rodney, what about the garbage?
Oh, you cooked it, you take it out.
Rent a laugh now. Rent Back to School, now on home video.
For some time now, the Reagan White House has been urging youngsters to say no to drugs. But now it seems the administration is saying yes to cutting the drug-fighting budget. More on the cutbacks in this report from Karen Hasby.
Last October, President Reagan signed an omnibus anti-drug bill, capping what the president himself called a national crusade against drugs. The signing followed repeated appearances by the First Lady at rallies where children were urged to stay away from drugs, and a televised appearance in which Nancy Reagan made a personal plea.
Say yes to your life. And when it comes to drugs and alcohol, just say no.
Now in the 1988 budget just released, the administration has done an apparent about-face. To beef up drug enforcement, the omnibus bill sent $225 million to state and local governments. The president's budget cuts all that money. The original bill provided $225 million for drug abuse education. The president's budget cuts that number by more than half. The budget cuts would also slash residential drug treatment programs like Daytop Village here in New York. The people who run those programs are outraged.
I just can't believe it. I'm stunned. We have a lot of rhetoric, and we have wonderful music and flags that are fluttering the breezes, but we have kids dying behind that.
Monsignor O'Brien says his program has a waiting list of 900 people, one-third more than last summer when the facility was so crowded the people had to sleep on mattresses in the hall. Other drug treatment programs say they too are overwhelmed. This cocaine hotline gets over 1,200 calls a day. In the face of this escalating crisis, the chairman of the House Select Committee on Drugs charges that the president has used the drug issue as a political tool.
This Reagan budget slash cut recommendations of freezing and cutting out actually tells the local and state governments that what we did was a political thing. We did it before the election is over, and now we're going to desert them.
White House Budget Director James Miller denies the charges, saying there are still large sums in the 88 budget for narcotics programs. Even if some of the funding is eventually restored to next year's budget, those on the front line of the war against drugs say we need more than money to win this one.
It's gotten ahead of us by 30 to 35 years. It's going to take just as many years to roll back. There's no magic. There's no magic bullet at all. It's going to take hard work and consistency.
For the Independent News, I'm Karen Hasby.
Up next, he lost his antlers, she lost her bow. A love story in a moment.
Deception.
You sold your son.
That's not true.
Lust.
I need you, Melissa. I'm here.
Greed.
I want that land. Your wish, as always, is my command.
Jealousy.
I'm asking you for the last time. Work with Chase. Be his brother.
Never.
Then be damned.
Relive the vintage years. 5 days a week on Falcon Crest.
Monday morning at 9 on Channel 9.
June Allison for Depend.
Good news. America's most trusted undergarment for bladder control is better than ever. New improved Depend undergarments has added an extra layer of absorbency where protection is needed most. It's absorbency protection no other undergarment has. You
can feel safer, more confident, and get better protection with new Depend. Get back into life. Get back into life with Depend.
I'm Al Pamani, and because of our after Christmas gift offer, we had the most successful December ever. And you want to know something? I'm going to repeat it in January because I'm going to have the most successful January ever. And I'm going to do it by guaranteeing you the best deal on a new Ford. Plus, I'll give you any item you see here as a gift from us, or any used car you buy from us. Right now, I'll give you any item you see here. With deals like $100 down and $137 a month for a brand new Escort, you can see we're dealing at Al Pamani Ford and Al Pamani's Arlington Heights Ford.
Chicago's very own Channel 9 has a new morning lineup. As the Beverly Hillbillies move to 10 o'clock, followed by The Odd Couple at 10:30.
Oscar, if you don't want me to stay here, just tell me. I tell you every month!
And at 11, it's Hogan's Heroes.
What was that? Sound like a staff car blow.
We have an all-new morning, and it begins Monday morning right here on Channel 9.
Goodwill Industries can make a big difference to someone with a disability. Goodwill trains people with disabilities, counsels them, helps them to find a job, and hold it. If you're disabled and you want job training, or if your business needs a reliable source of skilled, motivated employees, contact your nearest Goodwill office.
The Independent News, brought to you by HBO Canon Video.
And now it's time for the INN Friday Night Movie. Jeffrey Lyons is here with a review of Assassination. Jeffrey?
Mark, ever since I first saw him way back in 1955 in a B-Western called Drumbeat opposite Alan Ladd, I've been a fan of Charles Bronson. But for the past 10 years or so, I've been waiting for him to make better movies than those routine loner shoot-'em-ups. After Assassination, which opens today across the country, I'm still waiting.
Who are you?
My name is Killian, ma'am.
Don't call me ma'am. I haven't seen you before, have I?
No, ma'am.
I just told you not to call me ma'am.
Now, the premise of Assassination asks you to buy an awful lot. Charles Bronson is a top Secret Service agent just back from leave, assigned not to guard the president, but the incoming First Lady on Inauguration Day, no less. And she's not exactly the type of charmer you'd lay your life on the line for.
Administration. And I, for one, am not going to be coerced by your chauvinistic rules.
Now, with this sunny tree-lined street in Los Angeles somewhere, trying in vain to pass for Pennsylvania Avenue on January 20th, Inauguration Day, when it's usually bitterly cold, the First Lady is riding in a motorcade all by herself. I mean, where's the Commander-in-Chief? But I almost forgot the plot. Somebody out there is trying to kill her. Now, with Charles Bronson, you of course want action, and here he's used the White House helicopter as a decoy to lure the gang of would-be killers into an attack. It looks about as real and convincing as the bleach in the First Lady's hair. Mort points out, of course, that the First Lady has an English accent. Oh, well, there are other huge gaps in the movie's logic as well. Sloppy editing, especially in the action sequences, and obvious use of doubles. A movie which turns, moreover, on credibility is thus killed by such phoniness, or you might say assassinated by it. Someday, Charles Bronson might make a good movie again. I hope so. After Assassination, I'm still waiting and waiting and waiting. And that's the Friday Night INN Movie. I'm Jeffrey Lyons. Mort?
Thank you, Jeffrey. She's still out there, but he's out to pasture. The lovesick moose of Montpelier, Vermont has walked out on Jessica the cow. For 76 days, the moose wooed while Jessica mooed, and tens of thousands of people traveled to the remote farm to see the odd couple. The moose had meandered onto the farm last year during the mating season. Biologists say it's impossible for a moose and a cow to produce offspring, but if they made each other happy, so what? After the moose left, Jessica acted as if she were lonesome, looking away, said Farmer Larry Carrera. The moose had shed his antlers last Wednesday, and when a moose loses his antlers, he loses his need for female company. The moose may be back, though. He'll grow another set of antlers in the spring when a young man's fancy turns to love. And that's the Independent News. I'm Morton Dean. Have a good night and a good weekend.